Well, I'm going to begin by doing the reading from the language of letting go. And I chose pieces of today's reading from the language of letting go. Going easy. Go easy. You may have to push forward, but you don't have to push so hard. Go in gentleness and go in peace. Do not be in such a hurry. And no day or hour, no time are you required to do more than you can do in peace. Do not be in too much of a hurry to begin. Begin, do not force the beginning if it is not time. Enjoy and relish middles, the heart of the matter. Don't be in such a hurry to finish. Let the pace flow naturally. Move forward, start, keep moving forward, do it gently, work through it, do it in peace, and cherish each moment. Today, God, help me focus on a peaceful path rather than a hurried one. I will keep moving forward gently, not frantically. Help me let go of my need to be anxious and hurried. Help me replace it with a need to be at peace and in harmony. I wanted to read that tonight because we're going to talk about the recovery process of the iceberg theory. And the iceberg theory is a little bit different from another theory. If you remember, we always talked a lot about peeling the onion. And the concept was to peel the onion from the outside to eventually get to the core and get to the center, but to do it slowly and gradually. In the iceberg theory for recovery, we do the opposite. We go to the core concept, and then begin to work from the outside. I'm going to use an old concept based on the iceberg theory. If you ever saw a keg of ice and you wanted to begin to break it open, you take a ice pick, and hit it in the middle, and cracks form through the whole entire thing. I use that analogy because in doing the recovery process, we have to learn how to go to the core. The core of the iceberg is centralized around three things: the illusion of control, the illusion of fear, and the biggest one of all, the concept of shame. So many times in the course of our journey in life, shame keeps us from dealing. But I'm convinced that core and that center, those three things, split out into all the other issues and things we experience in life. But like I said last week, when we begin to look at our theories, look at our issues, and begin to defrost them, we basically are being able to take some time to allow them to go through what I call the three A's. The three A's, you may have heard of them from AA. But the three A's are awareness, acceptance, and then action. The same thing as regards dealing with any of our issues. I'll use some of the few minutes to show you. We have to become aware of them first. Then we have to learn how to accept them, embrace them. And then the action thing is to be able to heal, make peace with them. Because try to remember this principle. All of our issues, no matter what they are part of our history, are part of our makeup. They're part of who we are. And as a result, basically, they'll always be part of our history. A friend of mine put it very nicely. He said, if you can take all your issues and put them into a jail cell, but they're still on occasion going to break out of jail and come and haunt you because they're part of your history, they're part of your makeup. And that's why it's important to realize the fact we can't get rid of them, but we can soften them, we can embrace them. And I'll show you what I mean as an example in my own life. When I was in therapy, right before I left the priesthood, one of the issues that my therapist worked with me on which took a long time for him to defrost me about it, was some of my abuse issues as a child. And for a long period of time, I kept that secret. And finally, he got me to talk to him about it. And when I talked to him about it, it was almost like there was this little sense that it was no longer just mine, no longer just a secret. And there's that sense of relief. Then, over a period of time, he asked me to talk to another gentleman who had similar abuse issues and be able to share with that gentleman. With a lot of courage, I was finally able to do that. Again, I felt more relief. Till now, I can talk about it right here with everybody present. You see, what was once a secret, something that just was buried inside of me, that I kept secret for a lot of years. Once I opened it up gradually and slowly, it's no longer my enemy. It's just now a piece of my history because I was able to finally do closure on it and be able to deal with it. I use it as an example because when we talk about the concept of the iceberg, once we're able to go into some of the things that shamed us, so many times in the course of our journey in life, we try to keep things under control. And that illusion of control can drive us crazy. And then the fear that goes along with it. Fear of being exposed, fear of being found out, fear that somebody's going to say something, fear of a lot of things. I know in making a decision to leave the priesthood, it took years to make that decision, even though my intellect told me a long time ago that I needed to do it. But fear, that control thing, being afraid, change, all those things are part of our journey. They're part of our makeup. And so one of the secrets of the recovery process is it takes some time to become aware of things that are part of me. Now, you can look at the diagram that we put on the website, on the Vince's Corner, and look at different things in it. And some of these things may pertain to you and some of them may not. They're just examples. But I'm going to take a couple of them that pertain to me, especially when I was in the priesthood, and use them as an example to show you how the recovery process works. Two of the ones that were pretty powerful to me when I was in the priesthood, and took me a long time, a lot of work. I want to share this with you too, because remember, opening up the iceberg and beginning to deal with it involves three things. It involves being able to have someone to share it with, to have a support system, and to realize that we're only ready to share the things that we are ready to look at. You know, I learned something very powerful in recovery, and it means a lot to me today. I've learned that I can't force things. I may be able to deal with two or three issues that are at the forefront. Maybe later on some other stuff will surface. But I'm going to tell you a secret. Please don't tell anybody. 10 days after you're dead, there'll still be some issues to work on, so don't worry about it. So the concept is, it's part of our growth, part of our learning. We're never done. See, each one of us is unique. Each one of us is special. Each one of us is on a journey. Each one of us is a book being written. And each one of our books, each one of our stories is the greatest story on the face of this earth because it's ours. And that's why I love recovery, because it's a place where we can share our stories with each other and we can learn from each other's stories. To me, that is the greatest part of this whole entire recovery process. But also to learn the importance of being able to look at things and not beat yourself up over them like I did for a long period of time. I never truly understood this till I got into therapy in my early 40s. How many secrets, how many things I kept buried inside of me. I didn't even know they were buried there because I had covered them up so powerfully. But just to be able to start getting in touch with them, to begin to acknowledge them, to begin the process. Two of the ones that stand out very powerfully to me in the diagram when I was in the priesthood is grandiosity, lying to my personal self. And even I could add to that some judgmentalism. I realize now that I literally, because of fear, because of control, because of shame, because of basically not knowing who I am, having no sense of myself. The grandiosity was to basically constantly be on the outside, constantly be performing, constantly getting things done, doing things that sometimes were kind of crazy, but literally running, and running, avoiding, getting myself into all kinds of situations. In fact, I smile about this today. When I wrote that book, My Spiritual Journey, the story of my life, my wife actually said to me, if I had known you in your earlier days, I think I never would have married you. You probably would have scared me half to death. You know, it's funny sometimes we don't even realize what you're doing and you keep doing it because literally it becomes a way of life. That's the same forms of addiction. We do these behaviors. We do them because we think they're normal, but they're not. And as a result, we have to learn how to easy does it, slow down, and begin the process of healing. And I'm going to tell you this because I do care about you. Healing is a slow, gradual process. There is no magic. I'm sorry. It's hard work. Really getting to know, becoming aware, being able to come to an acceptance that this is part of who I am. And that concept of lying to yourself, I never truly understood that till once again I got into therapy. I got into work in a recovery program. I never realized that I was lying to myself. I was trying to convince myself that everything was wonderful, everything was great, that I had no problems, that I had it all together. You know, it's kind of weird, isn't it? When later on you find out you don't have it all together and you find out you're not fine. You know, that word was a big part of my vocabulary for a long period of time. People would say, are you okay? I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. Because literally, I was constantly trying to make sure I had a good outside. And they hit it on the nail on the head when they even told me that I was spiritually dead on the inside. I didn't understand that, but now I do. And so we look at these things and we realize we have to be able to accept the reality of the life that we lived, to embrace it, and then to become aware, and then be able to make some adjustments, make some changes, be able to work through some of this stuff. You know, one of the greatest adventures of life, I want to share this with you tonight, is the adventure of recovery, the adventure of self-discovery, the adventure of being able to slowly and gradually getting to treat yourself in a positive way. To do that too, I kind of want to connect this to another beautiful thing. are 12 steps. To me, the 12 steps are 12 basic principles that teach me self-love, self-awareness. So literally, the beautiful part about steps 1 through 3, they teach me 3 beautiful words: acceptance, accepting of the reality of who I am; faith, to have a sense of faith, a sense of belief, and the trust that you'll be led to where you're supposed to be led. You don't have to be in control. I share a couple big stories with you. I don't mind bringing them out. But so many times in the course of my journey in life, I never truly understood how things go where they're supposed to go when you have faith and you have trust. See, God works in a very powerful way. The higher power works constantly. I mean, proof of this is our 12-step programs. Proof of this are the early founders. Because you got to realize, I smile at this all the time. When 39 recovering drunks got together and created the 12 steps, the 12 traditions, and the big book. It's so powerful and so beautiful. So it had to be divinely inspired. Bill W. didn't meet Dr. Bob by accident. There was a purpose behind it. Bill needed help and Dr. Bob needed help. So God brought them together. That's where the faith thing comes into play. No matter what you chose to call the concept of God, as you understand God, but to realize something out there is guiding us. In my own life, I realize this now. I know when I got ordained, back when I was 26 years old, I was a cocky little guy. And I basically kind of had decided, that I was going to make the decisions I wanted to make. Well, the crazy part about it is, after I got ordained, I met with the bishop. And I told the bishop I wanted to go to the poorest parish in the diocese. And I wanted to be a prison chaplain. The bishop sent me to the richest parish in the diocese. Again, I was pissed off at him. I was angry because he didn't listen to me. See, I know what I wanted, but he wouldn't listen. But see, God was speaking. He sent me to work with an alcoholic pastor. I met a gentleman there named Morgan who took me to my first 12-step program and got me involved in Al-Anon way in 1969. It's amazing, isn't it? There's always something that leads you to where you're supposed to be. I took a leave of absence from the priesthood. Was living over in Philadelphia. Didn't know where I wanted to go, what I wanted to do. And I met a beautiful gentleman named Norman, who I asked to be my sponsor, Norman D. And Norman took me to a meeting. The meeting was called the Mustard Seed, 17th and Sampson. After the meeting, Norman handed me a mustard seed. And he told me to put it in my pocket. I looked at him with a couple of crazy eyes and I said, "You want me to put this mustard seed in my pocket?" I said, "Why?" He said, "Don't worry, it's going to grow." So I figured, all right, I'll humor him. I'll put it in my pocket. He said, "Meet me at St. Luke's Hospital the next day." He brought me to a room in the hospital. I met 5 other people that were sitting there. He introduced me to them. And then he said, "Congratulations. Remember that mustard seed? That mustard seed is called the starting point, and you're going to run it." I said, "I'm going to what?" He said, "You're going to run it." I said, "What's the starting point?" He said, "Don't worry about it. We took care of that already." and the journey started. You know, I look at this stuff today and I know there are no coincidences. I know that that faith and that trust and that openness will lead you where it's supposed to go. And throughout the 49 years of Starting Point, I could probably tell you story after story after story after story. And the seed just keeps growing. It's amazing when you come right down to it. But along with that goes changes that occur in our lives. All of us are realizing the fact that life goes on. There's a change. There's a new generation coming up. There's new changes, new concepts. We look at things differently. You know, I got an education the other day. I visited my great niece, wanted to see her for the first time. And I was talking to my niece, who's in her 30s. It's her second baby. And we were talking about the younger generation now. I don't know, whatever the X or Z, whatever generation it is. But the bottom line is they have a whole different set of rules for raising a child. I didn't even know that. But the rules are totally different now. The way they do things, how things are connected. They have a tendency, in my eyes, to make it a lot more complicated, but that's okay. It's their journey. Things change. They don't stay the same. It's part of life. We have a choice. We can go with it, learn new things, move in new directions, heal some of the stuff from the old. We've all made mistakes. We've all gone through and did things. And sometimes it's hard to let go. Sometimes you have to let go and to allow something new to be born. You know, it's so powerful when you look at this. You know, I look at Starting Point being 49 years old this year, and I look back and say, my role has changed completely in Starting Point. I mean, we have a 5K coming up. I can't do half the things I used to do. Guess what they said to me? Just show up, be present. And time to present some of the awards, you can present the awards. Now I know what it means to be called a founder. You get to present the awards. It's totally amazing, you know, but that's okay. I can smile at that today. Because first of all, I couldn't do half the things they're doing. Years ago, I could do it. Can't do it now. Life changes, your body changes, things change. You know, it's interesting getting old. And yet, it's okay to say that we're old. Because getting old is part of the journey of life. It's part of transition. It's part of change. It's all beautiful. You come right down to it. That's why I say don't look back on your history and look at it negatively. Those first three steps teach me acceptance of my reality, faith and trust. Steps 4 through 9 tell me to go do your work, will you? Do your inventory. Share yourself with people the best you possibly can. Make closure, make settlement. Acknowledge your little defects of character. Embrace them. Isn't it great being human? It means we all got our defects of character. Sometimes we're a pain in the you-know-what. Other times we got ourselves together. Some days we don't know who the heck we are. And that's okay too. Some days we wonder. Isn't it amazing just to see that whole complexity of things that make up what it means to be a human being, to make up what it means to be a person? And that constant process of change, of experiencing those things we talked about, of becoming more aware of the things you can do, the things you can't do, the things you have to let go of, the things you can move forward. the more you can learn. To have an acceptance of the reality of where we are today. That realize the fact we're not where we were yesterday. We're here today. To look at things through a different set of eyes, to realize things. I was talking to my friend this morning and I said, wow, what a change. You know, I grew up in a generation, I'm not even a crazy baby boomer. I'm actually a war baby. I was prior to it. Growing up as a kid in Camden, the ball players from the Phillies, one of them, the third baseman back then when I was 9, 10 years old, lived in our neighborhood because they didn't make enough money playing baseball. They had to work regular jobs. And so Willie Jones, who played for the Phillies at third base, also worked in the wintertime at Food Fair, packing shelves. He used to walk down the street and wave to you. He'd sit and talk. He's one of the neighbors. He was part of the makeup. Today, I don't know. They talk about numbers and I couldn't even think of that high. It's all turned into a big business. It's different. Things change. Everything changes. Now we're going to have an automated strike zone. They keep wanting to put these umpires out of business. I'm glad I did it while I was young enough to do it. It's totally amazing, isn't it? We keep taking the humanness out of everything. And I truly believe the humanness is part of life, which means you're going to screw up once in a while. You're going to make mistakes once in a while. You're going to go through change no matter who you are. One of my favorite books, I want to share it with you, is a book called The Umpire Strikes Back. It's by an umpire in the American League, a very flamboyant umpire named Ron Luciano, a little Italian nut, but he was good. But he tells the story how he was umpiring first base with a game between the Kansas City Royals and the New York Yankees at Yankee Stadium. There were 50,000 people in the stands and a national television audience. And so George hit a grounder to short. It was a close play at first. He called George safe, but he gave the out sign. He said to George, come here, George. Very nicely, he said, you know you're safe, but 50,000 people in a national television audience think you're out, so you're out. And George just walked off the field. There was this thing that was different then. It's a different world, a different concept. And I smile at that kind of stuff because it brings out the humanness in all of us as human beings. And it makes you look at things, makes you laugh a little bit, loosen up a little bit. When I was umpiring high school ball, right before the game started, I would call the two managers over and talk with them and go over the ground rules. And I say to them, now I got to tell you something. I have a disease. They looked at me and said, you got a disease? What kind of disease? I said, well, here's my disease. Every time you yell at me, the strike zone gets smaller. So don't yell too loud. They got my message. What can I tell you? But that's part of the humor, part of the humanness, part of life. Got to learn to laugh, to loosen up, to make peace, to make settlement. And those last 3 steps are so beautiful. To do a daily inventory, to learn your lessons for the day, to pray, to meditate, to do service. One of the old timers in AA in South Philadelphia, Angelo, beautiful guy, loved him. We used to call him the godfather of recovery. Whenever we went to a meeting there, we would kiss his hand before the meeting. We used to yell. joke with him all the time. And he used to say something which I loved. He used to say, if you wake up in the morning, say a prayer of gratitude. You've been given the gift of life for another day. Be grateful. Then get up, go about your day, do the best you can do. At the end of the day, look back on the day before you go to sleep and ask yourself, what lessons did I learn today? If you just learn one, it's okay. As my sponsor Richard used to say, if you learn that much each day, you made progress. I used to joke with him and say, that much? He'd go, nope, that's enough. Little bit at a time. Same thing my father told me when I was a kid. My father used to say, Wayon, bien, bien. Take your time. Go slow. Take your time. Take your time. Recovery works that way. And so we look at the iceberg and we realize I'm going to have to look at different things in life. We're going to have to be able to acknowledge them, be able to accept them, be able to heal, and later on to do service and share them. Like Angela used to say, take a look at the lessons, then go to sleep. The next day comes, you start again. It's all part of the process of life. So tonight, what I really wanted to bring out was we go to the center of the ice cube. We look at the issues that come from it. We start the process of becoming aware of our issues. Then we learn to accept them, embrace them. Then we take action and start the process of healing, the process of learning, of discovering another part of who we are as a person. And that's the beauty of this journey. It's the beauty of life. And I share that with you because I truly believe this concept of the iceberg is one of the secrets to the core, and the steps are part of it. And so what I'd like to do next week is just spend some time, have a conversation on the iceberg. So if you guys have questions or things you want to bring up yourself, we'll open that up for that next week and have a conversation. And we'll see what happens. Then I'll follow up with a series on spirituality and the 12 steps to look at the steps as a journey of life. So tonight in prayer, I'm going to ask the higher power to guide us and protect us and continue to lead us on the journey. Where it's going to lead us, I don't know. I don't need to know. I don't want to know. I just want to be open to it. Keep it that simple. So let us pray. God, we come before you in prayer. We ask the God of our understanding, our divine presence, to be our guide, to be our strength, to teach us constantly the gift of who we are. Help us to be open to learn from our past, to be open to grow from it. Teach us not to go back, but to learn and move forward. Teach us to be open to wherever you're going to lead us in the future. It's not important to know. But above all, teach us to live this day, to live it to the best of our ability, to be grateful, grateful for the little things in life. Give us the patience. Teach us to take it easy. Teach us not to take life so seriously, but to learn, to grow. Teach us to forgive. Teach us to make peace. Teach us to be open. Teach us to realize, with your help and your guidance, that we are just one of your servants on a journey. Help us to work through our mistakes. Help us to always be trying to learn. Teach us to realize not to get frustrated. Do the best we can each day. So in the spirit of gratitude, the spirit of love, and the spirit of humility, we come together. We ask you to be our guide and be our strength, and help us to have an open attitude, to become aware, to accept, to be able to handle things the way they should be handled. So we pray and we ask for your guidance, for your direction. We pray this every day, and we ask it in your name. Amen.